Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I hope you're all doing amazing on this Tuesday. My name is Joe. I'll be facilitating for you today. We are running an awesome training for you. We are talking about collaboration on documents using OneDrive and SharePoint. So, with Microsoft, of course, they give us multiple tools, right, to do the same thing. But there are differences between OneDrive and SharePoint, even though they both have that same topic of collaborating together on these documents in real time, they're used for different purposes. And that's what this course is all about, showcasing the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint and when to use which tool when. So we're going to start off here with our agenda. What we're going to be exploring in this session, first off, is understanding what is OneDrive exactly, why was it created, what is it used for, and how technology has really grown from the past. We'll then get into adding and organizing files in OneDrive. I'm going to show you the local version of OneDrive, and then we'll also talk about accessing the online version. Now, what you can do in the local version is great. You can do about 90% of the same stuff you can do in the online version, except there is some benefit to being online. For example, we can access the browse by files, which is an amazing feature. Also, we can access, if we're on Microsoft Teams or on SharePoint sites, we can access all the files right in our OneDrive browser. So those are some of the benefits. We'll go through all of them. We'll also be getting into how to share permissions, things like that, setting up managing shared files. So if we need to change those permissions, or maybe we just want to stop sharing, we can do that. We'll also get into SharePoint integration. So in OneDrive, as I said before, you can access your SharePoint files. That way you don't have to keep going between OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams. All file related documents are going to be right there in OneDrive. You can access SharePoint, you can access Teams if you're part of a team, if people are sharing files there. Access it all in one place. It's a one-stop shop for files. We'll then get into accessing document libraries on SharePoint. Document libraries, I love the way they name it, right? The naming convention matches because document libraries, you have the ability to check in or check out a document. And I'll explain more about that towards the end. We'll also get into creating views in SharePoint. So once we start getting a bunch of files in that document library, we may want to give better filtered access to them, right? It's hard sometimes. If you're adding a ton of files into a SharePoint site, those tend to grow really large. And then you spend your time looking for those files, even though they're in one place, they're all over the place. So I'm going to show you how to create views. And then as a bonus, I'm going to show you how we can link the views into a web part. So how we can create little buttons or put it in the navigation bar, or even just create quick links with little icons. Feel free to ask a lot of questions, by the way, in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as well. So if you do have a question, we'll give about 5 to 10 minutes towards the end of the session, but don't let that deter you from asking questions throughout. I'll always take a little peek over. So if you see my eyes looking over here, I'm just checking for some questions. With that said, let's jump straight into it. Let's have fun. Grab your OneDrive, open it up with me if you want to. You're more than welcome to follow along. So, which tool when is what we're going to start with. When do we use OneDrive versus when do we use SharePoint, right? And I always like to think of the OneDrive as the me. Those are my personal files, right? Personal work related files, personal files. Those are the files that I've created and I have ownership of. And if you really think about what OneDrive is, well, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but that's okay. We're all going to have fun. Shout out in the chat, by the way, if you've used one of these. Look at this, right? And don't make fun of my drawings. They're always horrible. How many of you have ever used a floppy disk, right? I remember it just like yesterday. Those big, bulky floppy disks, you throw it in, you could save probably like 2 files on there. That was great for its time. But then, of course, we moved on because we noticed that those floppy disks didn't save a lot of files. They didn't have a lot of space. So we ended up moving on to the CD. Whether you burned music on CDs or movies or files, it had way more space on a CD. But once again, really bulky. They could break, they could get stolen, they could be lost. So we ended up using this. And I'm sure some of you still have these out there. I know I have a ton of them with files on them. The good old USB, right? And the USB was great. It was smaller, it could store more files, we could plug it in, but same problem. All of these things, even though they could store files, they could be lost, stolen, or broken. So, what did we come up with? Well, in today's great day and age, we came up with the cloud storage service. And what it does is it saves all of your files on the internet. That way, you don't have to carry around a device. You can just log into a computer, any computer, type in your credentials, and access your files. And they called this the cloud. This is going to be the worst drawing of them also, but we'll make it work. There we go. All right. And that is now the icon for our OneDrive. So whenever you hear someone say cloud service system, it just means that you're storing files on the cloud or on the internet. And the great thing about this is you can access them anywhere, anytime, as long as you have internet connection. So no longer do you have to worry about, oh, where did I put that floppy? Where did I put that CD? Where did I put that USB? Everything's right here. You can access it from your computers, tablets, phones if you needed to. So that's why I love OneDrive so much. And I'll give you all a quick story. Of course, I have a 9-year-old, and a couple years back when he was younger, he spilled water all over my laptop. I was really scared. But then I remembered I had OneDrive. All I needed to do was get the new laptop, sign into my OneDrive, and all my files were safe. So once again, just a great benefit of storing files on OneDrive. You'll never lose your files for the end of time. Now we're going to talk about SharePoint. And well, it's the point of sharing, right? You see what I did there? SharePoint, point of sharing. I like to think of this as the we, right? When you want to share a file with a group of people, you can do that. You can share a file with a group of people or a team that you're working with on various projects or topics that you're talking about. And it's one place. Now, with OneDrive, yes, you can share files. But remember, you're still the owner of those files and you have to share them one at a time. So if I had a couple of coworkers say, hey, Joe, can you share that policy file with me? I can go to my OneDrive, I created it, and I can share it. But then if I notice that I'm sharing with a group of people and I'm sharing a ton of files, they're sharing a ton of files with me, and we're using OneDrive, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Instead, I'm going to use SharePoint. SharePoint is a shared file system so that my coworkers can share in that one spot. I can share files, other people can share files. And whenever we need a file, instead of having to ask or share one off with OneDrive, we have one place where all of our files live. So OneDrive is great for if you need to share a one off real quick, right? But SharePoint is great when you're working with teams on various projects or topics. And that's why it's called the we. Now, another benefit of SharePoint is that it is a web-based collaboration form. So what that means is you get a website, and on that website, you can put even more important information. You can put in time zones, you can put in text, imagery, links, anything you need to create a website where you have all the information about topics or projects you're working on. So we're going to go through both of these, starting off with OneDrive, and then we'll segue into SharePoint. So let's get right into our OneDrive. You'll see right away on my taskbar this little cloud icon. And yes, that's a better cloud icon than I drew before. And if you click on it, you can access all of your OneDrive files. Whether you want to open them up in the online by clicking View Online, or if you want to open them up in the local, you can open them up in the local. You'll also see here that if you've worked on any files, like I was working on this file 3 hours ago, or this one 22 hours ago, you can quickly access the recent files you've been working on. Now, I will say, once again, the local version is great because it can do most of what you can do in the online version, with a couple benefits missing. So I want to go over that one first. To access the local, you can do it two ways. You can either click on Open File right here, or you can open up your File Explorer here. Two ways to do the same thing. Doesn't matter which one you click. I'm going to actually click into my OneDrive, and then I'm going to click Open Folder here, and I'll open up the File Explorer just like that. And you'll see all of your files that are on OneDrive. Now, you'll notice that you can actually go to new and create new folders, or you can open up a new database, or you can create a new Excel spreadsheet, or even create a presentation. And once it's in your OneDrive, it's online. But the thing is, a lot of people get nervous about it. They're like, well, Joe, wait a second. What happens if my power goes out? Or what happens if I'm traveling and I have spotty Wi Fi? How do I access those files? And that's a great question. You'll notice next to the folders and the files, as you scroll down, you have a ton of different icons as status next to it. And that's important because that will tell you whether your files are online or offline. So, for instance, as I'm going through this, I have a couple of files here. And you'll notice that some of them will have the little cloud icon. And whenever you see that little cloud icon, that simply means that you can access this file online only. So if you don't have internet access, you can't access the file. And that can be scary, but I'll show you something cool in a moment. You'll also see this little checkbox, right? This little check mark here. And that check mark means that you can access this file online or offline. And then if you see a little person icon, that just simply means that you're sharing the file with somebody. So you can always know what you're sharing. Now, how do we create those status? Well, most of it's automated, but you do have power over if you want to keep something offline or online. If you keep it offline, it does take up space on your computer, but you can access it even without internet. And if you keep it online, then you can only access it with internet. And the reason they allowed you to do this was because of what I just said. Stuff happens in life, right? Whether it's the internet goes out or whether a bad storm's coming and your Wi-Fi is very slow, it can happen. So they gave us the benefit to go in and choose what we want. For instance, the test form. I can right click on that and it gives me an option right here to always keep on this device where it downloads it from the internet and it keeps it in both spots. Now, when you do have it on this device, don't worry. Anything you do offline will automatically synchronize online. So, for instance, I'm just going to right click, always keep on this device, and it's going to change it to this little green filled in check mark. And that means that it's always going to stay on your computer and on the cloud. If I decide I just temporarily need it offline, I can always right click and just click on always keep on this device again, and it'll turn into that regular check mark. That means it's going to stay offline for a little bit until eventually you're going to move it online only. So now if there's a storm that comes in, my Wi-Fi or my power goes out, I can work on this test form. And then later on, once my power is restored, it will automatically synchronize with the cloud. That way I can still get work done, even if I don't have internet access. And then later on, if I'm like, you know what, I'm all done with this test form, I'm done working on it, I don't mind if I don't have access to it, I can right click and I could say free up space. That way I free up space from my computer and it will change it back to the little cloud icon, meaning that now I can only access it online. And most of the time, you can access your files online. You'll know if you're going to lose Wi Fi or not. So, this is a really great option for us to do work even if we don't have internet service. Another thing we can do here with these is I can right click on it and I can open it. Whether I want to open it with Excel or if I want to open it online, I can do that as well. I can also share this, add it to my favorites, compress it to zip file, or even copy the path, look at the properties, or even if you have Copilot, which is the new hot topic for AI, artificial intelligence, you can ask about it with AI. But let's say I do want to share this test form with someone. I'm going to click on share, and it's going to open up this share dialog box here. Now, once you get here, you can type in anyone's name from your company directory. It will be linked. So if I want to, share this with my friend Carly here, I can search Carly, click on Carly's name, and now I have the ability to choose the share permission. Do I want to just make it so that Carly can view the file? That's it, just look at it. Do I want Carly to edit it with me and do some real-time collaboration so that we're working together in real time? I can do that as well. Or maybe I do want Carly to view it, but I don't want Carly to download it because it's my file and I don't want a copy of it out there. So you have the choice to pick the permission level. And then you can even, after you choose the permission level, just give a little message here. Thanks for helping me. And then just send this off. And then Carly will actually get an email saying, hey, Joe just invited you to work on this file with him. She'll click the link, it'll open up, and we can work together in real time. Now, I will say that if you are doing real-time collaboration, a couple of just tips from me to you in using this for a long time is, first off, you don't want more than 4 people in there. It could get very chaotic because everyone's doing real stuff in real time, and you can over edit somebody's edits, or you can delete something that somebody just put in, and you don't want to do that. So my recommendation is only 4 people max, and always have an audio call going, whether you're on a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting or even StreamYard. You always want some way to communicate. Now, besides that, let's say that I want to add this to not only one person and share it with one person, I want to share it with 20 people. You can imagine I'm not going to sit here and type in 20 names. That would take forever. Instead, I can actually go in and copy a link and share it with everyone live in the meeting. So if I decide I do want to copy a link, right now if I hover over it, it'll tell me, hey Joe, anyone with this link can edit it. Okay, perfect. So that means if I have 20 people are editing it. But as I said before, that's not a good idea. It could get very chaotic. So I do want to change some of these permission settings here. I can do that by clicking the little gear icon, which brings us to link settings. And this is where now I can showcase where the links work for and what kind of settings or permission levels I want. For example, do I want anyone in the world to be able to access this file? Do I want people only from my company to access this file? If I shared this with Carly and then I stopped sharing it with Carly, do I want to reshare it with Carly? Instead of typing your name in, I could just say people who used to have access. Or I can get more specific if I want to share this with, let's say, an external source or maybe people in my company, but I want to choose them specifically. I can then type in their names, whether you want to be choosing someone from inside the company or outside. Just be sure though, because some of these settings might not work for you or they might look different, because of course every company has its own policies on external sharing, things like that. So if you don't see anyone or you don't see certain options here, it's because your admin team is blocking it for security purposes. So no worries if you don't see it. It's for, your own company's policies that you want to always follow. Now, let's say I want to share this with anyone and go into more settings. Now I can click here, and once again, I can choose what sort of sharing I want to do. Do I want to view access? Do I want can't download? Do I want can edit? You can even set an expiration on this. So maybe I only want to share this file till Friday because we're all working on it. And I can even set a password if you're sharing it with anyone in the world and you're nervous because maybe there's some confidential data in there and you don't want it to get into the wrong hands. You can put a quick little password and tell whoever you're sharing with what that password is. Once you're done, you can apply. So I'm going to just say can edit and apply. Now you're going to click copy the link. That's important. It's not enough to just choose the settings and that's it, and then close the X. You have to click copy link to actually create the link. So I'm going to click copy link. It's going to take a moment, and now it created a link. The cool part about this is I just created a link where anyone can edit. You can have as many links as you want. So I can create another link anyone can only view, and I'll now create a link for that. And if you want to view those links, you can go to manage access. This is where you can see who has access, who you've shared with before. And not only that, you can see all the links you've ever created. And you can do that by clicking in this bottom left-hand corner. You'll see manage access. I'm sharing 2 links right now. I'm going to give that a click. And I can see those 2 links. One link specifically is for editing. The other link is for viewing. So if you want to share one of the links with people that you need to edit, or a link where people just need to view, you now have two separate links you can use. At any point, if you decide though that you want to stop sharing this, you can go over to the stop sharing button and stop sharing right away. So I'll click here, stop sharing, and those links will now disappear. I'm no longer sharing this file. Perfect. Another thing I do want to talk about when sharing is the fact that if you're going to share something with someone, don't think it's just, set in stone. You can always change share permissions. And I'll give you a quick example. I'm going to share this once again with Carly. And I'm going to choose to share it as view only access. And I'll send this off. Now it says I invited Carly. Perfect. I can close that out. Later on, if I'm like, oops, I only did view access, I messed up, I was supposed to actually share this with Carly for editing, well, then I can right click, go back to the share button, and then you can access your manage access in the bottom left-hand corner again. And now I see Carly right here. You can click on the name, choose what their direct access is, and now I can change it. I actually do want Carly to edit or view or can't download or revoke direct access. And I'll just choose real quick, can edit. And then I'll click apply. And now I've changed Carly's access. And then once again, at any moment, if I do decide to stop sharing, I can stop sharing and Carly's gone from the list. So that's everything you need to know on sharing in OneDrive. And what's so great about this is that whether you open up OneDrive in the local or the online or the mobile app, it's all the same. It's all consistent. And that's really amazing, because sometimes I know how it can be. You open up an app and then you open it up on the mobile app and it's like two different worlds. With OneDrive, everything just feels so consistent that if you know one platform, whether it's local, mobile, or online, you can do everything every single time. So that's awesome. With that said, that is our local version. What I want to talk about next is the online version. Now, there's two ways you can get to online version. First off, you can access it by just going through the web, right? Whether you want to open up Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or whatever web browser you want to open, you can then go in, type in office.com, and sign in with your credentials. But I will say, you always got to go through security, the MFA or the multi-factor authenticator. They'll send you a little code where you enter it in. That's all for security purposes. I don't recommend opening a web browser. I'll show you why. I'm going to open up the web browser. I'll then go to office.com. It'll make me sign in with my credentials, and then once I'm signed in, it'll bring me to my landing page here. Once here, I'll then have to go over to apps, go look for OneDrive. There it is. Give it a click. And it brings me to my online version of OneDrive. So you just saw that whole process. It's annoying. I don't like doing it. So my recommendation is, instead of going through all of that, just simply click on your little cloud icon. And then once you click on that cloud, view online. And boom, it brings it up immediately. See, a lot easier. It's a one-time sign-in, and you can always just click view online and bring you right here instead of going through that whole process. So that's a recommendation from me to you. If you're like, Joe, I like going through office.com, you're more than welcome to do that. Multiple ways to do the same thing. So with that said, and I'll just turn off my camera here. I know it's kind of going in and out. My face is like going into the background, so don't mind me. In the online version, everything I just showed you, local, you can do here. But when you first get here, you might get a little confused as to where to navigate. So I want to swift away that confusion, get you into the navigation over here on the left, and show you exactly what we're looking at. So on the left-hand side, you'll see my navigation. Sometimes it will be collapsed. So if you just see the icons, no worries. You can always extend it. I like to keep it extended, of course, because I could see the naming of each of these categories. But the landing page is always going to bring you into the home landing page. Now, in the home landing page, you'll see your recents. I actually call this, I think of this as your recents. So the home is where you can see all the recent files you've been working on. And what I love so much about this is it really tracks all your recent files. Like yesterday, I opened this. 4 hours ago, Elizabeth shared this with me. 4 hours ago, Elizabeth shared this with me. I can see all the files I've been working on today, right? And as you can see, Joe's been working a lot. I'm doing really good on my OneNotes. But what I love so much about the system is that even though I can see all the recents and it's still a long list, you can actually go here and you can get very specific on what you want to see that you've recently worked on. So let's say I was working on an Excel file and I'm like, I don't want to look through that list. I went, I grabbed some coffee, I got back, and I just want to get right into work. I can just go to Home, click on Excel, and say, oh, yeah, I was working on this, and open it up right away. And now I can get right back to work. So I love this system because it just makes finding your files a lot easier. But you may be wondering, okay, you can see your files here, but you can also see files that people have shared with you here. Where are my files that I own? Well, that's the next section here. My files. When you click into My Files, this is where you'll see all of the same files you just saw in the local. So if I even pulled up my local real quick, there they are, identical. Joe's Quick Files, Joe's Quick Files, Visa, Visa. So all those files I was showing you before are right here under My Files. These are the files that you own. Underneath My Files, you'll also see Shared Files. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But I just want to show you how similar local versus the online is. Once again, if I want to share a file with somebody, say I'm scrolling through and I want to share, I don't know, this file. I can do that by selecting it and clicking Share right up top. And when I click on Share, it opens up the same exact dialog box as before. And that's what I mean by consistency. Whether you're using local or the web or the mobile app, it all looks the same. So once you get familiar with it, you're going to be like, oh, I know how to share. This is easy. Okay. You'll click the share button. You'll be able to create links if you want to. Nothing changes. It all looks the same. So that's always great. Underneath, you'll see the shared option. So under your files, you'll see shared. This is where you can find things that have been shared with you. So for instance, Elizabeth shared this with me 4 hours ago. Let's see, Bob Spina shared this with me. Eddie shared this with me yesterday. So I can see everything. And you can even, once again, categorize it by what you want. I'm looking for a Word document that Elizabeth shared with me. Oh, there it is. So I can quickly find it. Not only can you see the documents that have been shared with you, but you can see documents and folders that you've shared with people. So I can click on By You, and now these are all the things that I've ever shared with anyone. Underneath Shared, you'll see Favorite. And well, this kind of speaks for itself. Let's say that I'm working on a file that's really important, and I decide, I don't know, maybe I want to go grab some coffee again because I like my coffee. I can go to My Files, and as you can see here, I have a huge list of files. And I don't want to have to go search for it. Where is it? Where is it? Of course, you can use the search bar, but wouldn't it be nicer if I could just select a file? For instance, Joe's Donut Shop. I'm going to click on the little star icon there, and now it's going to be in my favorites. So all of your important files that you're currently working on, just star them. and you'll find them right there in the favorites. So you don't have to go looking through that long list or searching for it. Now you know all of your important files are in one place. Once you're done deeming it important, you can then go in and just unselect that checkbox, right? Or that little star icon, just like that, and it goes away. The recycling bin. I know most of you are probably saying, Joe, are you really going to go over the recycling bin? Well, yeah, because there's actually some important information here. See, a recycling bin works the way any recycling bin works. If you click into my files and you delete something, it goes to the recycling bin. But what's really important about this is your retention for deletion. When does it get deleted? And really, that's up to the company. My company, I believe, is 6 months. So I have, or actually, it's 3 months. So I have a 90-day retention for deletion, which means once I delete something, I have 90 days to restore it before it's deleted forever. That's important to ask your admin team. Just contact your IT and say, hey, what's our retention for deletion in OneDrive? They'll either tell you there is none, a year, 6 months, 3 months, 30 days. It can be anything. But if you do have a retention, just remember if you delete something, you can always select it and restore it before that 30 days or 6 months or year, whenever you need to. If you don't have a retention for deletion, then it doesn't matter at all. Okay, so we've gone through most of the main parts here. Home is like your recents. My files are, well, your files. Shared is the stuff that has been shared with you or things you've shared with people. Favorites, if you favorite something important. And recycling bin, once you delete something. What we're going to talk about next is my favorite part of the online version, which you can't find in the local, which is browse files by. I love this section because it gives me more of a visual as to who shared what with me, or if I've missed a meeting and I want to see if anything was shared during that meeting, I can quickly find it by using this section. Let's say I'm looking for a file from my coworker Courtney. I can go to people and it gives me a list of all my coworkers' names. There's Courtney. And I can see all the files she's ever shared with me in the history of time. So if I click into here, I'm sure Courtney shared stuff with me over the years. All the way back to 2019, Courtney shared something with me, and it's still here. So I love this. I can go in, see everything that's ever been shared with me from this person, and quickly access it. So if, for instance, Elizabeth's like, I shared a file with you. If I'm looking and I'm like, I can't find Elizabeth, I can always just go to filter by person in the top right hand corner, type in Elizabeth's name. There she is. And there's all the files she's ever shared with me. Pretty cool. I find this to be my favorite part of the online version of OneDrive. I don't know about you, but finding files on a visual level like this is just, there's something great about it, right? Because I've been in File Explorer for so long, and I know how it can be searching for a file for at least 10 minutes. And you're like, where is this? So OneDrive makes it really simple to find files. The next part of this is meetings. Let's say that I'm in a training, which most of the time I am training and I miss so many important meetings. Not that I don't want to be there, but training comes first, right? So we had our all hands meeting, and I really want to know what files were shared. I can go into meetings and I can quickly see the Learn It All Hands meeting that was held on July 18th. I can click into it and see all the files that were shared. And if we recorded that, they can even add the recording link here too. So if I wanted to rewatch it, I could. So once again, just another great place. You also have media, of course, where you have all of your pictures in one place. But besides browse by files, there's one more thing I want to talk about in OneDrive before we move on to SharePoint. And that is the integration of SharePoint. See, all of our files live here, right? These are my files. I own them. I can share them. I can put them on here. I can take them off. But then I'm also part of Microsoft Teams where I'm working with a team of people. And I'm also part of SharePoint sites where I'm working with groups of people. And well, that's two other applications I now have to go in to find my files. Not anymore. I have everything right here in my online version of OneDrive. I'm part of this HR team, for instance. I can click into this team, which is a Microsoft Teams account, and I can see all of the files that are in this team. How awesome is that? Not only can I access team files, but I can also access SharePoint sites. So I can see all the document libraries. I can also, at this point, if I want to, go to the SharePoint site by clicking Go to Site. And then it'll bring me straight to that SharePoint site. So everything's in one place. Once again, I just love this. It brings you straight to the document library where I can access files. So if somebody says, "Hey, Joe, I just added a file on Project Beta or Project Alpha in the HR team," I don't have to go to Teams to do that. I could just say, "Oh, okay, let's see what they added," and I would find it here. And then I'd be like, "Hey, you didn't add anything." All right. And I could tell them. But really great system, one stop shop for your files and your team files. I'm going to stop here. And I know there's quite a few of you on YouTube or coming from different places. Feel free to ask questions on anything about OneDrive. I'll give everyone about a minute or two to think of any questions. And then what we'll do is jump straight into SharePoint. I'll show you how we can use document libraries in SharePoint and also the check in, check out system, creating views, and how we can create some really cool web parts based off of those views. All right, and we'll talk a little bit more about why views are so important. But if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat and I'll answer them right away. Awesome, everyone. All right, so let's jump straight into SharePoint. SharePoint, you can access once again through OneDrive by just going to your SharePoint site that you see, like example SharePoint site, and you'll see the document library. And you can do a lot of the stuff in SharePoint right here in OneDrive. But if I don't just want to look at the document library, maybe I want to see the site itself, I can always go right to the site by using this quick shortcut link. Once you click on that shortcut link, it brings you to SharePoint. And this is where I can now see our SharePoint site, and I'm put right into the document library. If I go to the home, this is your landing page for your website. So I can see welcome to my new site. And right away, it brings me here where I can access quick links. I'm going to show you how to do this later. I can also access news about the company, all the documents, or even the certain activity. But what I want to focus on mostly are the documents. So I'm going to actually create a SharePoint site for you. And not everyone will have access to create SharePoint sites. Always check with your admin team to see if you're allowed to do that. Some have certain rights. The reason they do this, by the way, just as a side note, is that when you create a SharePoint site, it ties up the server and it takes up space. So if companies decide to give everyone access to create SharePoint sites, sometimes people will create sites just they're playing around or, and it just creates a bunch of sites that are never used and it ties up the server. Instead, some companies will have you go through a form or a process of requesting a site, whether it's opening a ticket with your IT team or there's a request form that you fill out to say, "Hey, I need a SharePoint site." Me, I am part of the admin team, so I do have the ability to create a site. So if you don't see this button, no worries at all. Don't worry. You can always create a site through your IT team. Just ask them. But I'm going to create a team site real quick for collaboration, keep it standard, and use the template. I'm going to go quickly through this because I want to focus on document libraries. I'm going to just call this site Fun with Joe because I don't have a better naming convention. And we'll call it 10/7/2025. You can also give purpose to your site, like why are you creating this? And it creates an email group and a site address as well. And I'll click next. It'll ask you for privacy settings. Do you want it to be a private SharePoint or public? Anyone in the organization can use it. And you can set your language. And then I'll click create. It'll ask me if I want to add some members to this. And just so you know, if you don't have members in your mind of who's going to be using this site, you don't have to do this at the moment. You can skip this part and come back later and add members. Sort of like Microsoft Teams, where you can create a team, you don't have to add the members right away. And a fun fact for everyone, Teams is built from SharePoint, right? So anytime you create a team, you create a SharePoint site on the back end. If you're wondering why Microsoft did this, well, it's because SharePoint is super customizable. So you can create your own website. And some people don't want that. They just want the communication collaboration. So Microsoft created Teams. And as you can see, Teams is just the same user interface for everyone, but they can still communicate and collaborate. Whereas SharePoint, you can get really fancy with the website that you create. Okay, so this is my SharePoint site. I just created it, and the first thing I notice is the documents right here in my navigation bar. The documents allow for me to store files and folders. And everyone that's a part of the SharePoint site has access to it. So like I said before, OneDrive was great because they're my files. And if somebody asks me to borrow a file, I could say, sure, here you go. But if I'm working with that same person and we're constantly sharing files back and forth about topics or projects, it might be a good idea to suggest a SharePoint site. That way you don't have to always just do one off. You can just put all the files in here, and whoever's part of the site now has access to all the files here. Now, I don't really have a lot of files here, so what I'm going to do is add some. Whether you want to create a new file or folder for organization, or whether you just want to upload from your File Explorer. It's actually quite easy to do this as well. If you don't want to use the upload button, you can just minimize this window real quick. And maybe I want to add a couple of files here, and you can do the click and drag system. Boom. And it creates a copy of them. And maybe I also want this one. And then maybe I want to just create a new Word document. And I'll just name this right in the top left-hand corner, whatever I like. I'm just going to pretend it's going to be AI Policy Guide. And then because it's online, you don't have to actually click save over and over and over again. Everything auto-saves. So you can just exit out, and there it is. Now remember, this is SharePoint. It is a website. So I did rename that document. It still says document here, but give it some time and you'll see it updates. Or if you're kind of impatient like I am, you can always click the reload button, or you can use the function key 5 to reload. So F5 on your keyboard is the keyboard shortcut for just clicking reload. So now I have a couple files on here. I'm going to do 2 more files. I'm going to create another Word document. This one's going to be our onboarding process. And once again, if you are impatient, just press F5. Boom, it does it perfectly. And then I'm going to create one more Excel file with employee information. So now I have quite a few files in that document library, and I'm happy with it. So the next thing I want to talk about with SharePoint, and one of the great things about SharePoint is collaboration, right? Whenever you put a document in the document library, whoever has access to the SharePoint site has access to these files. So let's say me and Carly are working together. And me and Carly think a lot alike. So for me, I'm going to come into this document library and say, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to actually start working on the AI policy guide. And I open it up. Carly comes into work and says, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to work on the AI policy guide. And Carly opens it up. Well, guess what? Now we're both in the file at the same time, working at it at the same time. And yeah, it's getting a little crazy. Carly's erasing my stuff. I'm erasing Carly's stuff. And I'm like, oops, I'm so sorry that I'm doing this. Instead of worrying about that, the really cool thing about SharePoint is that it's called a document library for a reason. Think of it as a real library, right? What do you do at a library? You go to the library, you check out a book, you read the book, and you check it back in. But if I check out that book and it's the only copy, nobody else can check it out until I return it. Same thing here. I come into work today and I decide I'm going to be working on AI policy guide. I'll go to the AI policy guide, check mark it, and I'm going to click the three dots up top here. You'll see a long list and you'll see one of the items is check out. I'm going to choose to check out this file. And what that means is now nobody else can edit this but me. And you'll even see if you hover over it, it'll tell you, Joe, you checked out this file, so others cannot edit it. That way, I don't have to worry about someone else coming into SharePoint and clicking on the same file as me if they have the same idea to work on it for the day. It'll tell them that it's checked out by me. They can still view the file and see what I'm doing, but they can't edit it. So now I'll click into that file now that I have it checked out. I'm going to put in my AI policy guide. I'll use a title style here. I'm going to just center this real quick. I'm going to bold it, underline it, and I don't know, make it blue because that's my favorite color. Underneath it, I'll actually just create some fake stuff using AI. If you've never seen AI before, do this. You're going to love this. Always remember to use please, just in case AI takes over, it'll know you were nice to it. So please create a fake AI policy guide. Let's see what it comes up with. Watch how cool this is. Ready? Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to choose to keep it. And now we have a fake policy guide here. Now I'll close this out. And I'm going to check this back in. I'm going to choose check in. And it's going to ask me to put in what I did. What were the changes I made when I was editing this file? I'm going to say I added the title and added some policies. And then I'll choose check in. Now, once again, anyone that's part of this website can access this file. And if they want to see what I did, what changes, they can always click on the file again, and they can go to version history. They'll see what version this file is. So version 1 was when I created it, and version 2 is when I made the title and the policies. So you can always see what someone's doing. If, let's say, Carly and me are working on this, and Carly's like, Joe, I don't really like the policies. They sound too made up. We can always go back and restore the previous version and start over again. Pretty cool. All right, so that's what you can do in SharePoint. With that, I want to show you two more things before we end. One of them is creating views and then adding the views as quick links. So what is a view? Well, when I come into this library, they're starting to get a lot of these files here. And over the next couple of months, we'll probably have up to 100 files in this library. Now, of course, you can use folders to organize them, but even then, it gets a little too chaotic. So I'm going to try to make this easier. Instead of having all the different file types here in one place, I'm going to actually create a view. I can create the view by going over to the little filter icon in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to click that view, and I'm going to create 3 views. One view is going to be for Excel documents. The other view will be for Word, and the last one will be for PowerPoint. So I'm going to choose Excel, and then once I have the filter on and I'm only seeing Excel, I'm going to go to where it says All Documents, and I'm actually going to save the view as a different view. So I'll go to Save View As, and instead of calling it All Documents, I'll call it Excel Files. You can actually create views privately for yourself, or you can make this public to everyone. I'm going to make it public because I'm nice. So I'll click Save. I'm going to do that a couple more times, but before I do that, now know there are 2 views. So if you don't see them, just refresh. And then when I click the drop down, I now have 2 views. All Documents, Excel Files. So if I click on All Documents, there's all my documents. If I click on Excel Files, only Excel files. And I'm going to do that 2 more times. I'm going to create 2 more views. Also, you can rename this view if you want to. So you can go to Rename View, and instead of calling it All Documents, I'll just call it All Files. I'm then going to create a filter for the Word documents, and then create another view as Word files. And I'll do that 1 more time. Always remember to refresh if you don't see them. And now you'll see the 3 that we have: All Files, Excel Files, Word Files. I'm going to go back to All Files, filter just for PowerPoint, and save that view as PowerPoint files. Power to the point you're trying to make. There we go. So now I have 3 different views here. Now, not everyone always knows to click on this drop down and see all these views, by the way, but now we have them. All Files, Excel Files, Word Files, and PowerPoint files. But to make this easier for everyone, one of the cool things about views is that each view has its own URL. That's right. How cool is that? And because all of them have their own URL, I can actually now use those to create links on the main page. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. First thing I'll do is open up all the views. So right now this is All Files. I'm going to go to this tab, open up Excel Files, go to this tab, open up Word Files, and go to this tab and open up PowerPoint files. And you'll notice up top, this one ends in 8DF, this one ends in BDC, 05A, and then all items. I'm then going to go to the home now that I have all those open. And this is my home where I can edit the way it looks. I'm going to put it into editing mode. Now, by no means do you have to be a programmer. You don't need to know HTML. You don't need to know CSS or Java. This is all low code editing. So all you need to do is click on what you don't want and press delete. Or you can press the little plus icon, add another section, and you can add in things like text box, where I can have a little welcome message for everyone. And I'm just going to tell everyone, welcome to our site. And I'll put that in the middle. Maybe bold it, underline it, make it bigger because it's the title, and make it blue. And I'm happy with it. Now I'll add another section down here. And I'm going to add in here, just by going over, you can click on the little add new web part. And I'm going to scroll down until I find quick links. I love using quick links. And you probably get an idea of what I'm doing right now. I'm going to now take each of these links and put them right here. So I'm going to click add a link. From a link, go copy this one and just paste it. Click add. Now I don't like that it's called all items, so you can change the title, of course. I'm just going to call this all files. You can even change the little icon too. So they have a bunch of them here. I'm going to find one that has folders maybe. And yeah, I like this one. I don't know why I just do. I'm going to click OK. So all files. I'm now going to add another link. And I'll grab the second link. This is my Excel files. And then I'll add this one. And we'll call this one Excel files. And for this one, I'm going to change the icon to, I don't know, maybe like a table. Ooh, I like this one, even though it has like a little X, or you can use this. Excel files. And now I'll do the same thing. So you just keep doing that same thing where you just go to your views now and just copy the links since they all have different links. If you ever forget, just go back. Oh yeah, that was my Word documents. Word files. Change the icon. And for this one, I'll just do paper. See if they have anything, or file. And I'm going to go with this. You can even add your own custom images in here too. So if you want to get really fancy, but I'm just keeping it simple for today. You can add in actual logos from Excel, Word, and we'll call this one PowerPoint files. So now that we have all of these, this is just creating easy ways for us to access our files. Let's see if they have a presentation. And that looks good. I'm happy with it. And then you can always move these around. So I'm going to put all files first, then Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. I'll organize them. That looks good. I'll just say File Center, or whatever you want to call this. And that's it. I'm now going to republish this, and let's see what it looks like. So now they get right into the site. Welcome to our site. And the first thing they see is the File Center, where they can look at all files. And it brings them straight to all the files. Or they can say, you know what, I'm looking for an Excel file. Excel files, only Excel files, and so on and so forth. So this is just a great way to present your files. If you don't want to just use the traditional document library and you want to create fun little button links. With that said, everyone, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I hope you really enjoyed this course today and you got a lot out of it. With that, I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much.